You're listening to WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul.
Check, check, 1, 2. Look like a little country, some rock and roll and blues. 'Cause we sure love playing for good people like you. Let me know if you can hear me. Check, check, 1, 2.
Welcome to Music Local and Sustainable, the radio show that features discussions with and the music of local musicians. I am your host, Dave Lake. Tonight we have A.M. Rodriguez in the studio. A.M. Rodriguez is a singer-songwriter that can be seen around town at various locations. However, you can regularly catch him from 6 to 8 p.m. on Fridays at the Jinx. Welcome, A.M. Rodriguez.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me.
How do you classify your style of music?
I draw on a lot of different American styles of roots music, and there's some punk rock filter that never quite got uninstalled back from when I was a teenager, and I don't consider myself country punk or folk punk or anything. I think I play pretty traditional styles of American music, really. It's just my voice it comes out how it comes out. I think in the hands of other people, some of the songs would sound totally different and probably a lot more traditional to most people's ears, but that's what I think I do.
Originally, are you from Texas?
Yes, I was born in Austin. Then my family ended up moving around a pretty good bit when I was a kid. Ended up back in Texas when I was 15. Moved on my 15th birthday from California. 15-year-old me was not super stoked. It ended up being a good thing. I was glad to be back in Texas.
Now, when you moved back to Texas, was that also Austin?
We moved outskirts of Houston initially, and I went to high school there. Didn't go well for me. I did good at school, but I just hated it socially, everything. I still don't care for the city of Houston personally. I have some songs about it. Graduated high school early. I made it to San Marcos, Texas as soon as I could after that. Went up there to start college, then transferred to UT in Austin, and was in Austin until I left.
So you started at Texas State?
Yes.
In San Marcos.
I like it. Nice little town.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, it's a nice location, too. About halfway between Austin and San Antonio.
Yeah, and it's really only about 30 minutes to Austin, like the way Austin's kind of started moving south now, so it's not a bad drive. You can go catch shows, come back that night, go in the river the next day. And conversely, you could go from Austin and just go hang out with your friends up there and just go float the river for a day, and yeah, it's a nice little town.
Why leave Austin and go to Philadelphia?
Personally, I was in my young, mid-20s, out of school, but there was no real job prospects when I graduated. I graduated December of 2010, so the recession had really struck a lot of things very hard, and everyone always joked about getting an English degree anyway, but at the time it was like, whoa, this is actually worse than I was told. But I ended up ghostwriting a book for a guy, so I actually used my degree for a little bit, and then after that gig ran out, I was just washing dishes. Yeah, I moved on to being a cook. There wasn't really much for me to do in Austin. I was playing music at open mics and stuff, but it was really hard to get any serious gigs. I played bass in a band. It was a honky-tonk western swing band, and that was actually a really fun project, but I always wanted to have my own songs in the mix too. I wasn't up to par with those musicians at all. I learned a lot from those guys. There just wasn't too much for me there. There's some heartbreak I was trying to run away from. Yeah, I just needed a change of scenery. That was really the only place I could go. So ended up in Pennsylvania and just met a bunch of new friends. And it led me to Savannah, and it was good.
How would you compare the music scene in Savannah to the music scene in Austin?
Austin obviously has a world-renowned music scene, for better or for worse. If you are a local musician there's a lot more of the pay-to-play stuff, or just having to scrape by at open mics, like just trying to find your next gig. And I honestly, I never figured it out. I left and I quit playing music as far as I was concerned when I left. So to me, Savannah's been a lot easier to get a foot in the door. And then if you work hard, and I mean, you definitely got to bust at it, but you can get your name out there much quicker than Austin. From where you go from there, it's limited. Savannah seems to have a certain plateau or threshold of what you can do, depending on the kind of music you play. If you play jam band, reggae stuff, you know, you can do pretty well here and in this region because we're next to Florida. And if you play what I do, singer-songwriter stuff, the best way I can put this is places that hire people who do singer-songwriter material solo and acoustic generally. They don't think their audiences will accept anything that's less than just standard covers. Every now and then maybe throw out one cover or an original that's keeping in line, but you put your own spin on it. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of faith in songwriters as a whole by the people who pay the most money to play in town. When you're interviewing John Waits, he called them menu venues. And I'd never heard that term, but I liked it. And it pays, and it's good. And I'll take those gigs when I get them and the timing works out, and I don't have to take off time from my regular jobs. But yeah, just personally, I could never really fit into those too well. I did a couple, and I just played what I had regularly anyway, because that's all I'm really good at. I can't cover just old country classics a lot. I like them, but I just don't think my voice suits them and my style of playing. Some of them I've found and put my own spin on, and it's fun, but the most well-known covers I think I have in my set are Guy Clark and Townes Van Zandt, so not exactly what like most people are expecting to hear when they're chowing down on a burger or whatever, or some pizza on the island.
Is that different than Austin in terms of acceptance of the singer-songwriter and the original tunes?
There's definitely well-known singer-songwriters out of Austin, and there's a lot there. Somehow, it's so hard to find some stuff in that town. Like, I found out about a couple great singer-songwriters from there just after I'd left town. And then in many cases, they had often left town already by then, too. One of the songs I recorded with Jason Bible that's not going to be on my current album, but is coming out on a split from the same recording sessions with my buddy Mark Lanke from Philly, is a cover of Tom Vanden Auben's Wreck of a Fine Man. And he's a phenomenal songwriter. And he spent a lot of time in Austin before he eventually ditched, and he lives out in a trailer somewhere in farmland, California, last I read.
Every autumn the copperheads crawl back into the woodpile, and without fail my songbirds start south all them hard miles. The hell of a lie that an old man don't care to remember. I still hear a name when the cold wind starts blowing in November. Now I got this broken down fort of a voice, and my body is rusted out and sputtering Rolls Royce. Well, I used to sing down at the Ryman, and now all they say when I pass goes the wreck of a fine man. Back when I was a young man, I guess talking was useful. But these days I take my medicine by the glass and not the spoonful. Times ain't like they used to be, and they ain't coming back again. Stepping out of the weather, and I'll share with you this bottle of rye, my friend. Tell you about my broken down Ford of a voice, how my body is a rusted out and sputtering Rolls Royce. Well, I used to sing down at the Ryman, but now all they say when I pass goes a wreck of a fine man. Nothing about lawyers, politicians, their greed, or their wars. I like to stroll through the far woods, Isle of whiskey, and now and then a pretty whore. I tell her about my broken down Ford of a voice, and how my body is all rusted out and sputtering Rolls Royce. Well, I used to sing down at the Ryman, but now all I say when I pass goes a wreck of a fine man. Used to be a fine man.
That one's called Wreck of a Fine Man, and he's one of those fantastic singer-songwriters that spent time in Austin, but it's not really like when Willie went back after leaving Nashville. There's opportunities there. There's a lot of other scenes in Austin that are pretty big now too, like psych and electronic stuff. And the punk scene's still pretty decent, but yeah, making it as a singer-songwriter anywhere I feel is probably pretty difficult. And the more singer-songwriters you have in a concentrated area, especially the more talented ones, it definitely doesn't make it any easier. Although in Savannah, I feel like we have a pretty unique opportunity because we're not known as a singer-songwriter town yet. There are many really great singer-songwriters in town, an abnormal amount. And like one of the things I want to do with the singer-songwriter happy hour and I've been working on is trying to bring some more of those musicians whose songs I respect and really like their writing and craft, and trying to get them on stage. And it's a happy hour at a downtown location on a Friday, so it's a lot of tourists, but there are some regulars, and then a lot of the tourists end up liking what they're seeing and stick around, ask questions, and talk after. So it's something I'm trying to make a little more regular, a little more part of the scene. Just songwriters hanging out, playing together.
Yeah, it's interesting. That seems to be a relatively recent phenomenon. I think you started it then at the Jinx on Fridays, and now there's one at El Rocco Lounge on Wednesdays as well.
Okay, yeah, I think Anders Thompson does the Wednesdays one. Yes, you can have a happy hour and have original music. I actually started playing with Tony Beasley. He was doing that happy hour from 6 to 8 every Friday. And he had a lot of originals in there. But Tony also can totally pull off the old country covers. So a lot of people would come and see him do that, and he absolutely nailed it. That dude can sing great. Yeah, that wasn't really what I was best at, so I learned a few. I have a few versions. Like I like playing Big City and a couple other things, but yeah, by and large, it's not what I'm strong at. And then Tony was getting ready to have his first child, and I'd been playing lead guitar with him for 9 or 10 months, I think. I'd worked there for I think one day. We got drunk that night on Wild Turkey. He's like, hey, like you want to play guitar with me tomorrow? Be around 6 o'clock. I was like, all right, cool, you know. Hit him up around 5. I was like, hey, where's your house at? I'll bring my guitar. I was like, oh no, I'm in at the bar. Like, we'll play happy. I was like, oh, all right. So I wasn't really that kind of guitar player. I could just sit and hang out for 2 hours and just play based on just staring and listening. But it helped me out a lot, and I got to where I could play that stuff like that. So it was a good opportunity. And then when I took it over, I ended up just kind of changing up the focus a little more to my strong suit, and then trying to bring some of my friends up there and people who I like playing with. Yeah, I've had a good response so far.
And so you host it and you invite other singer-songwriters to come in and sit in?
Yeah, usually often I play by myself, and then I try and get at least one or two performers a month to come in. When I have guests, I'll usually just book in the sets. I'll play like a little bit at the beginning, try and get some people in off the street, keep the regulars hanging out, introduce whoever I have as a guest. I've had everyone from Craig Tanner, Britt Scott, Anna Chandler, Jason Bible, Matt Eckstein have showed up, Aaron Zimmer from City Hotel, and Brandon Nelson McCoy, I think, was my most recent guest. And yeah, I'm just trying to bring in more singer-songwriters as time allows. It's hard for some people's schedules because people do play a lot of working gigs on Fridays, but Philip Wise has been there. He's also been on the show. It's been a good, really awesome mix of local musicians. Everyone's style is a little different, and it's better that way. There's a lot of different types of songwriters in town, not just the country Americana style, but there's some good pop songwriters and some folk rock songwriters, and it's a good mix.
Too often you'll find most of the venues are pretty much tourist venues.
Yes, that's the case. It's unfortunate, and it brings a certain amount of money into the city, and it keeps things going, and allows for plenty of musicians to make a living by getting paid to play those gigs. But I doubt any of them that's their number one preference of stuff they would like to play. I mean, I'm sure a couple maybe, but by and large, from my friends I know who play those gigs, and when I've played those gigs, I need money. It's definitely not what I would ideally be doing. But so it's an industry and it supports a lot of people, but there's no reason it has to be like that in my mind. There's plenty of people that just from doing these singer-songwriter happy hours, like people I never would have expected, and they'll sit around the whole time. They'll come up and talk to me after, like, okay, like, that was really good, man. Those all original songs? Wow. And they do that to other performers we have there too. So people are totally open to original songs. It's just the venue that they're presented at and how it's presented to them. If you're just sitting in the background, you're presented as just a background. But if you're up on stage, there's no reason people can't enjoy their meals, hanging out, talking, while also checking out what's going on stage. I think it just depends on the venue and the area, and restaurants aren't an ideal setting for anything other than eating. They're not even ideal settings for getting drunk. They're ideal for being restaurants. But bars are ideal for being bars. Bar venues are generally ideal for a good mix of that, and that's what we have at the Jinx, so I'm lucky to be able to perform there as regularly as I do. I'm just trying to bring in some other people who maybe haven't gotten to play there yet, or who've played there and would like to play more frequently, because I do think it is the best venue in town.
And having the earlier session, I think, is really valuable. You can sort of like book the happy hour, but also you can have then the regular bands scheduled to go on at 10, but they never go on at 10.
Never.
That's a nice combination. And I noticed that Sentient Bean is now doing a lot more of the singer-songwriter shows as well.
Yeah, they're definitely a good venue for it too. It's a nice quiet room. They put that curtain up. I played one there a while back with this guy, Pelican Johnny out of Austin. And yeah, it's a nice quiet room for it. It's good, laid back. When people go there, they dim the lights real hard. It's just the spotlights on stage. It makes it really hot, but gets the focus good and on the singer at the time. And so people are really respectful in that room. It's actually a pretty nice place to play. The roasting room out in Bluffton, that's another really great listening room. It's a little ways out there, but not too far, but it's definitely worth playing out there. And totally worth catching shows at, and they were really nice, treated me real good. Played an early set out there. There wasn't too many people, but they still took care of me. It's a nice room. It sounds great in there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need more listening rooms like that, and more happy hours, I guess, or early performances as well as the late performances.
Yeah, it's a funny thing I find. For me, at least, a lot of people who didn't know what to expect when they see me or on stage until I start playing and singing. There are a lot of people that my music seems to strike a chord with most resonantly seem to be a little older, like usually a little older than my parents, and which I think is pretty cool because old people are generally a lot smarter, or at least have screwed up enough that they know good stuff when they see it, so I'll take that. But then it is harder to get some of my fans out to my actual night gigs because I won't play till like midnight, sometimes later. And, so the happy hours are a good in-between. I get to do that every week, so there's some folks who get to see me at that regularly, and then other folks who get to see me at the night shows. It's been a good thing, having the early gigs.
Why is it that rock pop shows go on later than they're scheduled?
It depends on the night. Generally, we're just waiting around for a few more people to trickle in. It's usually for the opener band, because no one likes being the opener band, and you start the show exactly on time, and the show ends early, and you're like, well, we got on 30 minutes later, there would have been like 15 more people seeing us instead of just like the bands and whoever's there early and doesn't care. So it's always nice for the opening bands just to have a few more people trickle in. And since everything is open till 3 in Savannah, it really doesn't hurt the show at all. And there's so many service industry folks who come to the Jinx regularly no matter what. So they all come in at the same time after they get off work every night. So really it doesn't hurt to start them a little later. And it's good for the opening bands especially. And everyone seems to have a pretty good time. Some more drinks get sold. So people are usually feeling pretty good by that point once the bands actually start. And then sometimes we do start on exactly on time for like bigger shows, like when Murdered by Death played there, or a Baroness not too long back. Stuff like that will definitely start right on time and try and get everyone in there as soon as possible. But those shows are usually sold out already anyway. So.
Well, let's talk about some of your songs. Why don't we start with Melissa's song? Now, you're working on a new album that's going to be coming out in middle of November. You'll have a kickoff for that album at the Jinx.
Yes, on November 19th, that third Saturday in the month, right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And you'll be going on probably about midnight.
Probably about midnight. I've told a few of my my happy hour regulars already, and they promised they would drink some coffee, take a little disco nap, and then be on out there.
One of the songs that's going to be on the new album is Melissa's song.
Yes. That was actually written last February.
Oh.
There was a Savannah Sweet Tea show at the Jinx, but also it was either Velvet Caravan or Damon and the Shit Kickers. Either way, I knew I could dance to it. I met this one gal there, and we went dancing for a while. Two-stepping is one of my favorite pastimes.
From Texas.
Yes, and unfortunately you can't really do that in Savannah too much. When I moved up north, I just thought it was a southern thing. So I was like, cool, once I get back to Georgia, I'll be able to go two-stepping all the time. I was wrong. It's apparently very much a Texas thing. So anytime I do get the chance, and I've got my boots on, I'm at the Jinx, I generally just try and go dancing. Yeah, me and this lady hit it off that night, so I ended up waking up at the Thunderbird Motel the next day. But she was really rad. She lived out in the woods, kind of off the grid in north central PA, in the middle of nowhere.
That's the reference to Pennsylvania.
I was getting over a breakup from end of the previous year, and I was just feeling pretty confined in the city and just really wanted to get out, and the place where she was at sounded real nice, and we'd made plans to visit. But I wrote that song like a couple days after I met her. As I was going through it, each chorus started the same. I'm not sure if I notated it on there, but the way I play it now, each chorus has a passage of time in it until eventually the narrator of the song actually never ends up making it to visit the object of whom he's singing to. But at the time, I'd still planned on visiting up there, but it never ended up working out, so the song became sort of prophetic, which I guess sometimes they do.
There is a reference to the initial evening, so I wish we could talk more. Last night in bed we shared in your motel.
Yep, that was Thunderbird. Pretty drunk, so not a lot of talking, but she was very interesting. I wish we'd talked more.
And then the reference to perhaps visiting somewhere here near to Canada.
Yeah, she's pretty good and up there.
And then, as you mentioned, there is the chorus, which describes meet you in Erie, the Alleghenies will roll and spill all around, the lush of the green, the fall red of the autumn, and soon colored blankets will cover the ground. But as you mentioned, that then progresses so that eventually it's a blanket of white.
Yeah, by the end of the song, the seasons have already passed, and it's supposed to go up in the summer. It never went through. Now it's coming on winter. Also, I just want to throw it in there because I was watching the movie Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell in it while I was writing this song, and it's kind of like a really artsy B movie. It came out, I think, 2015. And it's pretty awesome. But anyway, that's what the Bone Tomahawk reference is in the second verse is about.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone ever picked up on that, but I just thought that movie was super sweet. So I was like, cool, this is what I'm watching right now. It's pretty gory, but only in parts, and then there's a lot of talking, and it's pretty slow. It's great.
Would you want to play that?
Yeah, I can go ahead and do that.
Go on, girl, and build you that mountain, the one cut from two trees and painted by your hands. I would love to cook for you nightly by our fires that we built on the land. And it will be older than all us, older than our country and all of my dreams. Memories I imagined and stretched out to tape for your ears to take in, or whenever you please. So if you drive out Route 6, I'll meet you in Erie. The Alleghenies will roll and spill all around. The lush of the green will fall red into autumn, and soon colored blankets, yes ma'am, they will cover the ground. For now on the TV, men consume each other, and a bone tomahawk it just split one right in two. This is my city life, oh, here in Georgia. So I wish that we talked more last night in the bed that we shared in your motel, and I didn't pay for a thing, and I felt warm and safe, and could not believe the years that exist between our hands, all from here up on near to Canada. So I hope one day to visit you off the grid. So if you'd still drive out Route 6, I'll meet you in Erie. The Alleghenies could roll and spill all around. The lush of the green, it fell red into autumn, and now colored blankets, yes they do, cover the ground. And I'll give you what work these tattooed hands can offer, but till then this song, it is all I can do. So when you're driving Route 6, well, think of me in Erie as the Alleghenies do roll and spill all around you. The lush of the green we lost somewhere back in autumn, and now stone white blankets, how they cover the ground.